Hello?
Hello. How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Doing well. You know, it's Friday. I got my COVID shot today, so my arm's killing me a little bit, but
Hey, there you go. What? Actually, I haven't heard much about the COVID shot, honestly. So, like, what exactly, is it just a regular shot, like a flu shot, or what?
it's just like a flu shot. It hurts
Okay.
a little bit more like after the effect, because it's shot directly into your muscle, so it hurts a little
Oh.
bit. But
I didn't
yeah.
know that part.
yeah, it like when they stick you, perfectly fine. You don't feel a thing, but then usually about like an hour later, your muscle starts getting like really tight, and now I'm like, oof, I can feel it.
Jeez.
It's not horrible though,
Yeah.
and it's gonna help me. I work in a medical field, so
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, try to stay away from it as best I can.
Yeah, that's.
I love your hat.
Thank you. I love hats in general.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah, put it on.
my fedoras.
Nice.
Yeah, I know.
But I was like, it doesn't fit over the headphones, so I'm just gonna put it under the. Sorry, it doesn't fit under the headphones. I'm gonna put it over the headphones.
Yeah, see, your hat looks like it. I mean, that doesn't look bad. It looks like it could fit better than mine. Mine is like tailored for my head, and so it does not fit with the doesn't fit over or under.
Just would not work.
Yeah, no, it's done.
Nice.
Nice to meet you. Oh, well.
Yeah, my name is Colton, and you're Trevor, right?
Mhm.
Trevor.
I am.
Nice. I've never seen it spelt Trever.
I know.
It's usually OR, but man,
Yeah,
that's cool.
my family wanted it to be unique, and I've been dealing with misspellings my whole life. That I'm like, I don't really care how someone spells my name anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Sweet.
Did you get to check out Peter's art? Because you were asking me about commissions, and I didn't know if you got to go look at his link that I sent you.
Not yet.
Okay, no worries. I was just wondering. I was like, it's not me that does the art; it's my artist.
Yeah. No, it's super cool though. I definitely have some questions about your art, and honestly about everything. So.
Oh well, that's good. It's because I like to talk about it. So usually in interviews, you just tell me when to shut up, or you ask the questions. I'll follow your lead.
Okay, cool. Well, we already did a little intro of hello, I'm Colton. You're Trevor.
Yeah.
I run a YouTube channel / like kind of D&D meme page / just content called Wizthrift, like a wizard thrift store. And you could do a little intro of yourself, kind of your thing, what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Trevor, like you just said. I am the author and creator for Veil of the Void, the primary author. I also have a co-author who joins me from time to time, and but me personally, I've been working on Veil of the Void for, what am I, 28 now? 18 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, since you were 10?
Yeah, I actually started the idea since I was 10. I only ever started like finalizing and working on the rules about like 5 years ago.
Okay.
But before then, I'd been working on the universe since I was 10 and fleshing that all out. And then it went from a fantasy game to a sci-fi game to a sci-fi fantasy game. So
those honestly are the best in my opinion. So.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It's great, and I love combining both of them, especially with how our rules work, because it just lets you homebrew anything you can think of really easily, including a different setting. You can take any of our sci-fi stuff and easily make it fantasy based, or vice versa.
Dang, that's super cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited because just the way you're describing it, you're super excited. You obviously been working on it for. Yeah, there's actually a post on your Instagram that's like it's turned 18. So that's like, I thought you were 18. I was like, oh, that's cool. But no, it's actually the creation you've been working on. That's insane.
I know, it's crazy to think about, and it's grown so much, but it's become something like, I don't even know how it became the way it did, but it's something that encourages every single idea out there, regardless of how crazy or out there or doesn't work in other games. It'll always work in Veil of the Void, and I stand by that because I have yet to have anybody give me anything that I can't give them the idea for, and we can make for them in like upwards of an hour at most, real quick.
That's super cool. Well, awesome. Well, I gotta do my little sponsorships. So I am a part of a Kickstarter called Portals of the River Valley. It's a D&D Kickstarter. Thank you. And we're about 77% of the way there. So we gotta make that push. We got about 12 days left, I think. So we'll get that. And I'm also part of a company called the Dungeon Forge, who are the guys that are running the Kickstarter. And so we have lots of cool merch and stuff. So.
I saw that. The prints look really good. The little like 3D models. I like the little skeleton turtles and stuff. Like, I don't play D&D ever, but I mean, I like turtles, so I'll probably bring. I backed it, I think. So
thank you so much. That means so much to me. I truly appreciate that. That's amazing. My guys will be really happy about that. So
good. Yeah, I think I also posted a tweet or a Facebook post on mine about it too. So. Hopefully some people see it.
Look at that exposure. It sells to be nice to people. Look at that.
I know, weird, right? It's almost like being nice is the way it should be.
Yeah, crazy.
Weird.
Awesome. Well, Trevor, thank you so much for sitting down with me for however long this is, probably like half an hour or so. But thank you again. I really appreciate it. Looking at your stuff, your website and everything, I think it looks fantastic. And like you didn't do the art, but the artist has to have some direction. Otherwise, it's not gonna turn out like you want it. So, I just wanted to start out with some just general questions about role playing, some things like that, and then I wanted to get into Veil of the Void.
All right.
Awesome. So, how did you get into role playing games?
All right. So. When I was about 13, I got invited by a bunch of my friends to come play some Pathfinder, the first edition. I had no clue. None of us knew how it worked. Only one person had the rule book, and we were all trying to figure it out that night. So we probably played for like 8 hours, 4 of it trying to just understand how to make a character together.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like, D&D is pretty simple. Pathfinder is a whole different beast.
It's like, jeez. And as our first one to get into, I was like, oh, what have we done? But you know what, it was so much fun. And I loved the we forgot about the rules halfway through, and we just started doing stupid stuff and hanging out together with our characters, and then our DM had no clue what he was doing, so he's like, sure, just roll something. That's how I got into it.
Well, you just said doing stupid stuff and having fun together. Isn't that just like what we're supposed to be doing?
And that's exactly how I designed Veil of the Void to be too. Literally, it's just about fun.
I mean, no, that's like that should go on a t-shirt right there. Doing stupid stuff and having fun together.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And so were there any other like role-playing games that you got into? Obviously you've created a fantasy and sci-fi one, but how did you go from like Pathfinder to creating your own role-playing game?
Yeah, so after Pathfinder, we got into D&D 5e when it released. All of us started playing that together. I used to DM that too because the old DM was like, I want to be a player. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try, I guess. I don't know what to do, but now I'm a forever DM.
Hey, I am a forever DM by choice. Because for me, that's
me too now.
That's what the most fun is.
It is. It's awesome. So much fun to do. But after that, we played a little bit. I've tried some other things like Deadlands and Shadowrun and different things. Okay. And then after a while, my idea, because I'd been working on it for so long, I was like, you know what? I want to make this into a tabletop game. Because it was originally, when I designed it 18 years ago, it was going to be a like multiplayer online game. So like, something like akin to like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars, blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, I don't want to go to school for that because that's a lot of money, a lot of time. And then I loved just the fun of staying at a table together with everybody. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can work my idea into this. And so after playing D&D 5e, I was like, okay, well, let me use another rule set that I kind of like, that's kind of open, that I can just see if I can make my universe in it, And then after that, I just went, you know what? This doesn't fit my idea precisely. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to make my own.
Let's just do it. Just go for it.
Oh, yeah. I was just like, okay, cool. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it sounds fun, and I have an idea that I want to do. So it came out of a selfish desire of making something that I would want to play. So, but honestly, some of the best ideas are.
No, seriously, I know if you look at anybody that plays D&D, whether it's a character, a dungeon master making a world, or whatever, it starts with a selfish idea of something they want to see done. So I mean, like, that's super cool.
Yeah, and I just went from there, and I play tested it after I had some one class that had 3 levels and a few skills, and I tested it with some friends, and it was horribly broken, but they had tons of fun, and that's what mattered. I was like, hey, I might have something here.
Yeah.
And so I fleshed it out to a full 10 classes now and 9 species, and then all these, and that's just in the core rule book.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So what would you say, just listening to you talk about all these fun experiences, seeing you smile so much, what would you say is your favorite part of role-playing games? Like, what brings you to them?
Well, again, it's just, I think what I love about it, and I don't know if it's like directly related to role-playing games. It kind of is, because we use it as the medium, but it's just seeing their smiles, like sitting at the GM table and being able to watch all of them like laugh with each other and smile as they're doing all this crazy stuff. And then that moment of tension hits and everybody watches that die and they all freak out when it happens. Like, it's just the emotions that build at the table are so much fun. That's why I love being the GM, especially with Veil of the Void, because it's just fun alongside, but it all brings just pure enjoyment to the table without things cluttering up the mess. And it's just, you forget all the worries of 2020 or life in general, and you just get to play with people you like, and you guys get to roll the dice and just have fun from there. And I think that's why I like role-playing games a lot.
That's amazing. No, I think everybody has a different answer, but I think it all stems back to a very similar thing of coming together, having that shared experience. And I've heard it tons of times where it's like, nobody says, "Oh, my character did this." It's always we did this together, And so I think it's fantastic that we're able.
It's either we did this together or he did this, we had to fix it.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And being a dungeon master or a game master or whatever you want to call it, it gives you that opportunity not just to provide that experience, but to make something. And I think that's, storytelling is probably the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Like, it ever since the dawn of time, we've had storytelling, and it just brings people together. So that's fantastic.
Yep, and that's why my game is called a storyteller sci-fantasy TTRPG. That's really cool. That just shows you exactly what it is. Like, I don't think I've seen, because I've looked at a lot of different TTRPGs. For those who don't know, tabletop role playing. I've looked at a lot of them. I don't think any of them have ever said like storytelling on the front, or as like subtext. Most of them just say role playing game. So that's awesome. That's a really good subtitle for your game. Nice. So, what is Veil of the Void? Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's reappeared. I'm sorry.
Okay. All of a sudden you just stopped talking, and I was like, "Oh wait."
Yeah, it cut out on my end for you, and you were like frozen with like a big smile, and I was like, "Well, at least he's happy." I just have no idea what's going on.
The last thing I saw before I died was his smile.
Oh, there you go. See.
Okay. I'll just start with my question. So, what is Veil of the Void? Like, in just a quick summary, and then I just want you to just go into it.
Okay, so a very quick summary, pretty much the elevator pitch. Veil of the Void is the storyteller's sci-fi fantasy tabletop role-playing game that puts a huge emphasis on the fun of storytelling, character progression, and player freedom, all while giving the GM control over every ounce of chaos that happens.
You know what? I'm ready to play. Let's just roll up a character.
I know, right?
Not tonight.
Hey, Hey,
not tonight.
You let me know if you want to build a character. I'm happy to help.
Dude,
I help our Discord all the time, so.
No, let's do it. No, not tonight because I got a lot of stuff to do. But in the future, in a future video, and just in general, let's do it because this game needs exposure. Let me tell you, like,
yes,
I was thinking of names for these interviews. I was like, okay, DM's Corner, whatever. But I was like, what if I don't like meet with just Dungeon Master? So they're called creator interviews or creators corner. So
okay,
we're gonna do it. Okay,
I like it.
Okay, so now
okay, yeah, we'll continue.
Yeah. But I can tell, like, just your excitement is super contagious, and it makes me excited for it. And so that's dang. And that,
I love this game. If you can't tell.
No, I mean, you're probably a little biased. Just a tad.
Oh no, I'm definitely biased, but even then, I just love it in general.
Yeah.
Like, I made it so I could enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I think that's the best thing ever. You know, people who are passionate about something, they put their all into it. And so that's super cool. Okay, so what exactly? Just give me a rundown. Like, what is the universe? What makes it different from other, like, Star Wars? Because Star Wars is definitely science fantasy. You know.
Oh yeah.
What makes it different from Dungeons and Dragons and all these other role-playing games?
So, my universe in particular does everything it can to take all of the wonderful tropes of sci-fi, all the wonderful tropes of fantasy, and just mesh them into a crazy little ball of entertainment.
Okay.
So, for instance, we have someone called a Mechromancer. He's a necromancer that summons mech bots of enemies he's killed and gives them, like, you know, life inside of them. But instead of being a standard necromancer, he carries around these power swords and wears heavy armor that consumes the souls of his enemies, unleashes them in mighty blasts, and, you know, he can advance to be something like a wraith lord where he consumes the soul of someone that becomes his wraith and he fights alongside him, or he becomes a monster himself, consuming the energy within his sword to become this, like, ferocious, like, Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation where he just tears everything apart. And those are just the options for him, because the way our game works is the classes aren't limited. So we have what I don't call multi-classing like most games do. I call it custom classing, because you can take any ability from any class at any level as you go, as long as it's not what's considered to be a unique ability. And unique abilities are usually things like the extra attacks, or anything that uses your character's unique level 1 ability. Okay. But other than that, you have free reign to do whatever you want with whatever you want.
Super cool. I mean, you know, necromancers are seen as, like, you know, kind of frail and just kind of not very physically strong. But the way you describe it is just like, that's terrifying right there. Like, like, yes, a wizard who is able to bring back the dead, that's pretty scary. You know, a lich, that's very scary. But this creature who can just, like, bulk out and use weapons in their enemies, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, I just thought, what would I like to take? The one thing especially different with Veil of the Void is I like to take all the fantasy tropes and the sci-fi ones and twist them completely. So I'm like, I don't want a normal necromancer. Let's give him power armor and slap some souls on him and have him just charge into battle. And you know what? Instead of using a standard, you know, casting thing like wisdom or something, how about we give him power? Because he doesn't actually use magic like most of the other classes does. He takes it and bends it against the magic's will and is just like, no, you're going to do what I want you to do.
Okay, that's amazing. Right,
it's fun, right?
You know, like, I'm already thinking of characters that I could play, and I guess that's actually a good question. How could I take, like, my character concept and then turn it into a character into this game? How does that work exactly?
All right, so we have actually a lot of, like, homebrew and conversion guides in the core rulebook that kind of explain how to make your own class, make your own character, everything like that. But one of the core things we focus on in Veil of the Void is called flavor, which we all naturally do anyway when we're DMing and stuff like that. But Veil of the Void puts a huge focus on it and says this ability can be anything that you want it to be, as long as it keeps within the same rule set. So, for instance, I had one of the abilities for the naturalist class, which is this, like, kind of like a druid, kind of ish. like a druid, but our version, they have an ability where they can summon these wings as at level 3 that give them flight.
Okay.
And they summon like these ethereal, like natural wings. But one of my players is like he's playing the prototypes, which are a robot species.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want built-in jetpacks on my feet that I can activate. And for my level 3, the one I'm interested in is the wings. But he's like, I don't want the wings. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll have it do the exact same thing and have the exact same check, except now instead of wings, you literally have rockets that burst out of your feet, and you can use as an attack now too, because you can kick someone with them. So
that's really cool. Dang.
It's super easy to bend this game to do whatever you want. And even outside of that, I have in this book 3 books altogether.
Okay, that was
so you have the
question I had.
Yeah, sorry.
Was just like, because I just saw the core rule book. Is there? So are there 3 books like D&D? We have the Monster Manual, DM's Guide, and the Player's Handbook. So are there more than just one handbook?
So it's all in one book. For the single purchase, you get a whole lore section that comes with gods, the planets, all the various different abilities, like all these unique items. It comes with like almost 100 monsters that we custom built. It comes with all this, and then it comes with a GM section that explains how I homebrew everything, how I deal with the chaos. It gives you rules on running a business, running and building items in game, using different abilities, creating spells, creating expertise, and all that is in one book alongside the player's guide. So as a GM, you only need the one book and you're good to go.
That's really nice, because there's some games where you can drop $150 and yeah, I mean, over time, if you're that's all you get, that's not too much, but like $50 for one book, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's because I like people.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to start. Yeah, I like people. Yeah,
it's a good way. And I don't make like as much as like these bigger companies would from having all the various different books and having the $300 worth of spell cards you have to buy, where mine's only a $30 one and you get every spell in the game. But I'm like, I want money to be able to keep making it all, but obviously. I like people, so I don't. I want them to have fun with the game.
Yeah, that's super cool. Dang. And so the arts, all this stuff that you're talking about, it just everything that you've created, it is so imaginative and seems so versatile. Where did you get your inspiration from to just create this, like, the game in general?
People always ask me that at the interview, and I honestly never have a good answer, because like I sit here and read this book and I'm like, where did these come from? Because like it just all kind of pops in my head, and it's like, I love this. This is a fun idea. Let's see if I can make this work. And like I draw some inspiration from things like like Lord of the Rings, or like a lot of stuff like from mythologies and stuff. And I'll be like, oh, this is kind of a cool idea. How can I make this Veil of the Void, or things like that? But then usually after that, I'm like, I don't like the idea anymore. Let's try to make it even more unique. So, I don't know where it comes from, but I have fun doing it.
I mean, hey, I would say no dungeon master or creator is complete without a little bit of madness to help them create their things. Dang. So you said you have 10 classes.
Yes.
How did you create those classes? So we've talked about the Necromancer.
The
Necromancer. Okay.
Yes.
I like the play on words. How it's
yes.
Necro instead of Necro. That's super cool.
I thought it was clever.
No, it is clever. And then you're like, oh, mechs. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking on just at the classes, and I think probably the coolest one, in my opinion, is taking the combat medic. And instead of just a healer, it's taking health from other people and yourself and giving it to your companions.
Yeah.
That is such an interesting mechanic that I haven't seen before. And I think, there's blood magic and there's similar concepts. But how did you come up with that? Because it's such a creative decision and a creative way of doing a medic. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I noticed. So I've read almost like 200 different tabletop games manuals because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just duplicating everything, I don't like copywriting or plagiarizing what other people do, so yeah, just trying to make it.
You seem like an okay person.
Oh, thank goodness. But yeah, so the combat medic, I noticed that a lot of games didn't have a like dedicated healing class. Like they had things that could heal, but not like full dedication, because it's really hard to balance healing. Like healing is really broken in most games. But I was like, you know what would be cool is if I could get the standard combat medic, but instead of just having like a healing gun or something, how about I have to limit it to where they have to manage HP. So it's not so much dedicated healing as much as it is, okay, I'm going to take your health and I'm going to move it here, or I'm going to sacrifice some of my HP with my high-tech gauntlet and heal you with it. And then of course outside of that, they understand. So in Veil of the Void, I'll just go back a little bit. In Veil of the Void, healing, you can only heal the same person the same way twice per day. Okay. That's how healing is limited. Yeah, I had to come up with a way to limit healing without breaking healing. And so, for instance, a medic has, at level 3, they have like 4 different ways they can heal a single person. So they can do that up to 8 times a day. They can heal someone in different ways of balancing it and things like that. And so the combat medic's really fun that they're not broken because they have to require HP, or they have to have items on them, or they have to do actual like medicament checks to heal people. But at the same time, they're not weak in combat. Like they can go up, they can just stab someone with a dagger and then throw that dagger at their ally and heal them and be like, all right, I saved you, now go on to the next person.
That is so cool. Again, that's just taking the concept of like, I mean, like clerics and other healers, they do need to be bulkier and stuff, but that's so cool. It's just taking things and just flipping it. And that's my MO. I love flipping stuff. No, that's a fantastic way of creating something, because there's so many cliches, but if you can take that cliche, like someone who can raise the dead or damage their allies, and turning it into something, he can raise the dead, but he will also kill you. Oh yeah.
He will kill you and enjoy your soul as a delicious snack later on.
Exactly. Is that something that the necromancers can do? Can they feed
necromancers can do. Oh yeah, they get a leeching ability later on where they start ripping your soul out of you and healing themselves.
And then
they can also
use
cast
the body.
Abilities. Oh yeah, they use the body, and they have multiple options with the body. They can either explode it in a putrid acidic display, or they can consume the soul, or raise it back from the dead, or whatever they want to do, whatever they feel like at the moment.
Okay, so these are all your babies, obviously, but every parent has a favorite child. Just kidding. I hope that's not. But what is your favorite class?
See, it's so hard for me because, like, I always tell friends, like, I'm glad I'm a forever DM, because if I had to play this game, I have no idea what I would play because I love all of them so much. But I did make a class specifically for me, and so there's a specialization for the Mimic, which is like this class that reflects everything back at other people, and that Mimic, their specialization is they can put on masks or hats or whatever you want that make them other classes. And so I never have to decide what class I want to be. I could just play that specialization and switch between all of them.
Dang. That's pretty sweet. Wow. Because I saw that the Mimic has...
Yeah, the Mimic is crazy.
They have a specialization called the Chrono Dancer, right? Or Chrono Dreamer.
Oh, yeah, Chrono Dreamer.
Okay, yeah. What does that do?
So Chrono Dreamers just completely mess with time. So Mimics tap into this ability from the realm of reflection, which is like it sounds. It just bounces everything off. It reflects everything. It's a crazy realm, but Mimics use that. And the Chrono Dreamer specializes in manipulating the energy from the realm of time, focusing it through the realm of reflection, and just messing with it. So for different abilities, because they have ability points that they get at level 1, for different ability point costs, they can either like fast forward an enemy, so make them miss one of their actions or reactions. They can make a short rest into a long rest for all their allies because they speed time up, so it just becomes a weird paradoxical time jump. But the biggest thing that everybody loves about them is they can take someone who has made their turn and then as a reaction, they can rewind that person's turn, and that person gets to go again.
Wow.
Now, the only catch is you can't do the same thing you did in the last round or end in the same place, because as you're performing your action again on that turn, you have a image that's going alongside you performing the exact same things. And so at the end of your second turn, bam, both of them perform their stuff. And as long as you're not directly next to it, you're not going to cause a paradox and damage yourself.
Wow. Dang. Okay. So my immediate brain goes to, this is all sounds insanely broken. How do you balance
yes.
this thing that just like just from my perspective sounds broken? Like, how do you do that?
Oh yeah. You know, what's actually like really funny about Veil of the Void, and again, I don't know how it happened, but it is super balanced, even though players break everything, because players are really good at breaking stuff. And I encourage them to break things.
it's kind of what they do. You know?
Oh yeah, and it's fun. I love it when they have fun with it. But one of the rules in the book, in the GM section, specifically talks about balance of power. And so we like to say there's no such thing as a broken ability or person. It's more they're super strong, so now you have to raise the level of something to meet them.
Okay.
So, for instance, let's say you have a player that does an instant like 200 damage at level 10 or something, and that does a lot of damage. Well, if you throw a character that reflects back damage at them, they're gonna be a little more careful with how they hit stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's all about bringing counters in, because there's always counters to everything in this game. Have a character that stacks way too many conditions and it kills things too fast. Bring in a character that if they get a lot of conditions, they explode. So now the person has to think on their feet, okay, how am I going to kind of change this?
Yeah.
Or if you have something that's like untouchable, then make something that deals pure damage, because pure damage can pierce through everything and deal the damage regardless of your reductions. But we are always careful to let people know, don't punish players.
Yeah.
Use the rules to make it challenging and entertaining and keep them thinking, but don't use it to punish players. If they kill your big bad evil guy and all you're trying to do, just let them kill it. Let them get that victory and then go make a new one, because that's fun. They feel powerful, feel good, and then they might be a little over cocky for the next fight, and now you get to show them how terrifying something can be.
Well, whenever my players, they a lot of them are very good at, like you said, breaking things and just ruining your plans, but it is fun when they're over cocky and they go into a fight and you completely wreck them, and they still get out, but they're humble. They're like,
yes,
oh, okay.
Right. I do have a weakness.
Wait, if I bleed, I might die. Oh, dang it.
Yeah. And so there's always a way to do it in this game. And that's what's beautiful about the rules, because the rules give players so much freedom, but it also tells GMs, here's exactly how you kind of do this. And then one of the biggest things it also focuses on, if you're more worried about the combat aspect of it, is it gives you detailed explanations of HP to give based on player damage, instead of like experience or blah blah blah. It's what your players can do in damage and how difficult you want the fight to be, and then you can build the HP around that. But also it gives you what's called flavor HP and flavor damage, which is again something we all do as GMs, but it specifically gives guides on when to use flavor HP and then when to let the guy die, because sometimes you just need to let it die, but other times none of the other players got to go before this person came in and just utterly wrecked it. So let's give it a little bit of HP. Just, they're going to kill it. And it's fine that they're going to kill it, but let's let the other people do it too, just to give them a little bit. But then it's very important, in the book it says, don't let them know when you're doing it, because it's really fun when they kill something that looks like another thing, and then you come back and that thing has higher HP and they're like, thought this was going to be an easy fight. So there's a ton of guides in the GM section about how to watch and balance everything that's insane in the game.
Okay. 2 questions. One.
Okay.
There seems like a lot of stuff in this game. How do you make it? How do you simplify it for new players who, let's say, have never played a TTRPG or have just played Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
How do you bridge that gap?
So if you've ever played a tabletop game, I'll start there first. It's really easy to get into our rules. All it uses is D6s.
Okay.
The rules, it's super easy. All you need to know is 5 core rules: how to perform a check,
okay,
how to build your dice, and then like what your damage is going to be, what your basic ability kind of is, and stuff like that. So it's very simple to pick it up, especially if you've played any other game.
Okay.
But if you're new to it, we have a very detailed and newly like reorganized section of general rules that explain everything to the finite detail of exactly what each rule does. And then, because I love organization, before each of those big chapters, it has a chapter breakdown so you can quickly find where your rule is, based on just like, it's like a table of contents pretty much inside a chapter. Okay. And then every core super important rule that you need to know has a really lovely standout green box behind it, so that okay, so I need to know this. And then every other one that does it, you're like, okay, so this will just come up when it comes up. And then if you don't know how to build characters, there's the chapter 1 dives into how to build a character in 5 steps. And then there's a whole guide in the GM section that GMs can give their players that ask you 4 questions broken down into 3 questions each that help them build an insane background. And then based on that background, it gives you as the GM ideas of how to give them custom expertise, how to help them build their characters, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's not that overwhelming. I mean, I've invited new players and they usually pick it up after like 1 or 2 sessions. They're like, oh, okay, so it's the same exact roll every time. I just need to know what my new dice is every time, or I need to know what this is. So everything is, it's very simplified, but it's also easy to like create something that's not simplified, like how detailed you want it. And so people that are like expert, long time players, veterans, they can come in and they can easily build it, and then they can figure out how they're going to break it and how they're going to make it like even more challenging for themselves. But then for new players can come in and be like, I like this, let's just do this, and then they'll still be on the same power level as a veteran.
Wow, that's amazing. How long have you been playtesting this to balance it in this way?
5 years.
Okay, that makes sense. That like, and how often would you say that you or other people playtest it? Like multiple times a week in those 5 years?
Oh, it was like once a week.
Okay.
We played like once a week, and then I had some other groups that got interested into it after they played, and they're like, you know what, I'd like to GM. And I'm like, cool, test it, let me know what happens, because I'd love to know what's broken. And so I have them do that, and now with the Reforged update that I'm doing, which is the final update, it's just making the game better because I have more testing, more money, more understanding of distribution and stuff. And so I'm just making it where I wanted it to be originally. Since I no longer have a middleman taking most of my money, I can actually do what I want to do.
That's nice. Yeah, when you're able to get everything done on your own.
Yeah, and so it just goes from there, and I balanced it through those things. And we sold 200 copies last year of the book, and so all the people that have been playing it have been sending me feedback too. And so I've been taking everything the community says and fixing the game for the few issues that they had confusion. I would add clarification. I have tons of examples on what things are. I reorganized so much so that it's even easier to understand. So I did a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're like, obviously you have your day job, but this sounds like a full-time job aside from that. And
it is.
And I think that just shows how dedicated and how successful it will be, is from the work that you put in. That's amazing. I
certainly hope so, because this game is so much fun, and I just want to see people have fun with it, because it is. I love it.
That's amazing. Wow. So what we were talking about, like, it just used D6s. What are some of the different mechanics in this game that differ from other TTRPGs?
Okay, so one of the big things people always bring up to me is how skills work. Okay. So people love the skills in this game because they're not like regular skills. Yeah. Each of them have 7 levels that you level up as you play the game. So each roll and skill check you make can add to your total dice, and then it adds to your total checks. Okay. And then once you reach a like limit of checks, like let's say you've rolled 10 and you have no points in that class skill, or no points in that skill, you would then level up, and now you have 1 point in that skill. And so your characters learn as they go and perform checks throughout the game. They get skill points naturally. alongside, as they level up, they also get skill points from things. But like, I remember usually this game it gives you a finite amount of skill points at level 1 that kind of make you specialized and, fits your character's background and stuff. But then as you go, like, you may start out as a combat medic, but somehow as you play the game, your speechcraft has grown higher than your medicament because nobody's getting in fights that often. So now you're having to be the face of the party. And because you've been faking it so long, you start getting these checks and you get better and better at it. And so now you're sitting at 5 skill points and you didn't put a single point in there.
Yeah. Dang, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
One of my favorite things to do is multiclassing. I love building, putting things together. I love like arcane, like swordsman.
Oh yes,
blades. Being able to be a guy with swords and stuff, but also be able to do magic. It's such a common thing in so many stories, games, movies, whatever. But it's kind of difficult to make that in D&D or other games. How would I do that in your game? What would be a basic example?
So there's like 6 different ways you could do it. It's just off the top of my head.
I'm sure there's probably 20, but
there's way more, but just base.
Let's just start with 6.
If you want to be able to do it at level 1, you can pick the Thaumatek class, which is an enchanter class that gains access to magic by using magical USBs that they plug into weapons or books.
That's so cool.
And so awesome. I know, right? And so I had a player who was like, oh, I love this idea. Can I get like blades? And so we made his things that can accept the USBs into swords. And so he ran around and he got the Spellblade expertise and enchanted each one of them. And so he would be a Thaumatek that learned over time how to wear heavy armor and just went crazy in combat, throwing like bursts of magic everywhere and breaking things, and it was great. And so that's at level 1. You can start as a magic swordsman if you want, and that's just the first one.
Yeah, okay. Give me one more example.
Now, my favorite one, because the moment you said this is the one I thought about, and it's the one that just released with the Kickstarter goals.
Nice.
It's called the Blade Dancer, and so this class starts at level 1. You start with unique blades that are bound to your soul that you use this like tech gauntlet to open up your soul and pull them out of a pocket dimension.
I saw the art for this, and
yes,
that is so
just cool. Pulling it out.
Yeah.
And so they're called blade dancers because they pretty much dance over the field. The moment they attack someone, they teleport to someone else while pulling that sword out of their soul and attacking them with the next one.
Jeez.
But at level 5, they get a specialization called Spellblade. And Spellblade, all about enchanting their blades with magic. And each blade only gets one spell, but what's fun about it is as a blade or as a Spellblade, you can counter people's magic with your blade. So you slice down with your blade as a fireball's coming for you, counter it, and it recharges your Spellblade. So now you have a new spell to use. And yeah, that's another fun one. And that's probably the character I'd play because I want to just be just a sword master that has nothing but ice magic abilities and just like stops blizzards by slicing in the air.
No, like I said, there are ways you can do it, but sometimes it's underpowered because it's just you have to multi-class and you don't get certain things, or it just doesn't work out. But that's super cool.
Yeah.
That right
See, that's
there.
just the basic.
Yeah, no, that's my dream right there, is being this arcane swordsman that's just able to be in the front lines and cast spells at the same time.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry. I can send you the Blade Dancer later, as thanks for having me on here. No, you can geek out over it. I'm
just gonna back the thing so I can get the book because no, this sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, and see the Thaumatek in particular. You see, I think another thing, if you like magic type stuff, so I'm a huge fan of magic, but I'm not a huge fan of the standard Vancian magic like D&D, where it's spell levels or spell limits and blah blah blah. No, not available.
This is actually going into my next question, but continue.
Oh, look at that! Perfect. Yeah. We're on save wave. Yeah,
exactly.
But anyway, so how our magic works, and this took me forever to make because I didn't want it to just be regular magic. Yeah, no. You are not limited. So as a mage, you can do whatever. What limits you, so you don't have a limited number of spells you can cast per day, anything like that. What happens is as you draw magic from a realm, because that's where magic comes from, you begin building up something called a charge state. And a charge state is how much your magic that's building up inside of you. And so the more and more spells you cast, the more dangerous it becomes. But you're never limited to the number you can cast. So it may be a little bit dangerous later on, and you may summon a giant tornado of chickens on accident that you have to cancel the next round, which did happen in one of my campaigns. But you never feel limited by your magic, and that's just the basics of magic casting. Yeah. You can also raise the difficulties of your spell as you're casting a spell to change its damage type or to change its function. Like, let's say you just find out that the water elemental you're fighting is weak to lightning, but all you have is water and ice spells. Oh, what do? Mid-cast, you change your rune as you're casting it with a little bit of a higher difficulty in magic cast, and it becomes an ice blade that launches at them, or a lightning blade that launches at them, or instead of a frostbite, it encases them in this like electrical field that begins shocking them as they move. And so there's rules about how to change things mid-cast, how to make your own customized spells as you play throughout the game. You know, it's all broken but balanced.
Yeah. I love creating spells. I love creating magic.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, that just sounds right up my alley.
There's a 6-step guide in the GM thing about how to make every spell. And then there's 140 spells in the core rulebook by itself. And you can use any of them to do whatever you want. So really, I mean, it's to say it's endless possibilities is actually not just, yanking people's chains here. It's actually true.
Yeah. Trever, it sounds too good to be true. How did you do it? Obviously,
I don't know.
I need to get the book in my hands so that way I can study and figure it out. But how'd you do it? It all sounds too good to be true. It sounds like you have everything I've ever wanted in a role-playing game. It sounds like it's there.
Me too.
you have a guide for like everything, how to create spells. Like how and why did you do it?
Well, I did it because, one, I noticed that a lot of them don't. And I was like, why? I want to homebrew stuff. And I know lots of people want to homebrew stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm the creator. I was like, what do I do to make things? I was like, let me just add guides explaining how I make everything. There's like a detailed guide on how to make every single difficulty of adversary. There's a guide on how to make NPCs versus general NPCs that travel with the players. There's rules on how to craft. There's rules on how to build species, how to build expertise, how to build a class from scratch, how to build legendary items that are balanced. And most of them are in about 7 steps because that's all I use. So.
Okay. Wow.
And to answer your question, I don't know how I did it, but it's fun. Literally, my writing practice is so different than my co-authors because she's very organized and like, this is what's going to happen. Me, I'm just like, that sounds fun. Let's put it in there and figure out where it's going to go later.
Yeah. Dang. That's so cool.
You're gonna love it though, just from talking with you about what you're like. You're gonna freak over it.
No, I'm super excited. Okay, so you've had this mixture of fantasy and technology. What type of monsters are in this world?
So there's a lot of different ones, and it really is broken down into kind of what you're looking for. So, like for instance, demons that we have in this universe are very different. They are from what are called the Faces, which are like evil deities that used to be good ones, but were corrupted by this ultimate evil, and now they're fighting in an infinite war against the good ones. And so each one has unique demons that gain different abilities based on which one they serve. But there's different things like there's like a brute, which is like a big fleshy monstrosity that has, instead of arms, Gatling guns built into it. So it looks very much like a typical demon, but it's a walking tank. Dang. And then there's another one that's like formed of crystals, and it's a magic caster that throws out all these sinister spells and summons other monstrosities. And that's just for the demons. There's a whole set of dragons, different types. There's dragons from each realm. There's like world-eating dragons that can end the whole universe if they wanted to, but they usually sleep, so they don't really care. And then there's a planet that makes robotic things because it used to be a prototype facility until it blew up and went crazy, and now it makes robotic Tyrannosaurus Rexes that run around with a Gatling tail and a rocket launcher in its chest and plasma teeth that try to bite down on you. And then it summons a massive metallic dragon that has all these clockwork gears and launches like nukes down at people as it flies when it's mad. And little raptors that run around, And so there's like a huge blending of all these different weird fantasy creatures, and you have your typical things like elementals and stuff like that. But like even like our version of a lich, it's called a Mortem Dominus, and
that sounds cool.
I know, right? And it's terrifying because they start as what are called wraiths, which are just these little guys that escape the realm of ether. So they're like memories that are not exactly the best.
Okay.
They escape, they feed off of people's fears until the point where they just kill the person and they consume their soul. And upon successfully consuming that, they pretty much level up to become a Mortem Dominus, which is like a hyper intelligent like creature that controls all these undead armies. He summons like he summons and calls forth these heavily armored soldiers that are like I'm sorry, I get too excited about all this.
No, you're good. Keep going. I'm loving it.
He'll summon spirits from the ether realm. Won't even summon them. He'll rip them out of there and toss them into a dead soldier's armor. And then that soldier bursts into flames, and all of a sudden you have a flaming undead that's running around with a Gatling gun that summons like massive hordes of like undead little reapers to fight for him.
Man, that was like a heart attack. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I know, right? And then you want to kill those early, because if a Mortem Dominus keeps consuming souls, he eventually grows and grows and grows till he's sitting at about 20,000 health. Yeah, wow. So they start with 5,000, and then they just slowly grow as they eat people.
Okay. Wow. Okay then.
Yeah, so I tried to take all the tropes and just be like, let's make it weird.
Let's make it stronger and weirder. So, what is your favorite monster? You have like your favorite class. What's your favorite monster that you created?
I'm a fan of the dragons. Because they're very different in this universe than they normally are. Like, they're all sentient creatures that, like, each realm has a primordial dragon, which is like the watcher of that realm. And, they'll appear in times of trouble, and like they could just like flick someone off their planet if they really want to.
Yeah.
And, there's like realm dragons, which are all sentient and from each individual realm. And then you have like your common dragons like Bread and all that fun stuff. But what I love about them is none of them are actually dragons. Okay. They're just their avatar forms, because the true dragons live in a realm called Pardeos, which is the realm of dragons. And so pretty much these all-powerful creatures just send their essence into the realms, and it forms as one of those dragons. So they're not even like your typical dragon.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I have a class that I'm going to release eventually called the Dragon Champion that literally summons little dragons, and it grows alongside you as you play the game.
That's so cool. I've seen homebrew ones for that in other games, but there's dragons seem kind of like away from it. Even though the game is literally called Dungeons and Dragons, there's not that many like dragon stuff. It's kind of
there's not even a dragon on the front cover. I was like, come on.
Yeah. It's like it's the game. It's the game. Most people don't even meet a dragon when they play the game.
I know, but so I have all different levels of dragons. I have little dragons that you can meet at like level 1 that aren't a huge threat, but usually they're friendly dragons that you can like, because I have potion crafting guides in the game as well. Every monster drops something unique. That way, as a GM, you don't have to just give someone credits off of a random dragon. Why did the dragon have credits? Nobody knows. But like a little dragon, he can drop dust, and this dust is essential in potion crafting. It extends the effects or makes it do something else. So everything drops something, and regardless of how high level it is or how it is, everything drops something that can be used by people that want to go dive into monster hunting.
Dang, that is so cool.
I know, right?
Okay. I how do you like keep it to where like most D&D games is like 4 to 6 players, 3 to 5, something like that. How, with everything, all this stuff going on, how do you balance like as a GM? How do you balance like taking care of all this stuff?
So what's hilarious is like when I'm running my games, I never prepare anything. Okay. Because everything's gonna go chaotic. So there's people that like to prepare, but me, I'm just like, oh, okay, now they want to do this. Sure. What. If I have a 20 person squad, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now they want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, I have a guide that literally says, as a GM, just screw everything and just roll these number of dice whenever you're confused about something that you don't know a check for, and there you go, you're done. It's called the 6 dice rule, and it's like the thing I use the most because I don't even know all my rules, and I've read over it probably like 150 times now. So sometimes in the game, I'm just like, I don't know what the difficulty would be for this. I don't know what would happen. So I would just roll 66s, have them roll their check, and do it. Consider it to be a contested check, which are one of the check game, which is when 2 people roll dice, and then the highest number of hits wins. And so I would just roll the dice. If they succeed, well, cool. There we go. Yeah. That it happens.
The 6 dice rule. That's so cool. Because I'm just like, I'm flabbergasted because you're just saying so many things, and like my brain just going crazy. So like, because you have, like you said, you have crafting tables, you have all these, you have a potion making system, how to make these items. That's so cool, and that's just in the game. Like, you don't have to figure it out yourself. You're providing that. That's amazing.
I mean, I just added what I would want in something, and I was like, you know what? Crafting is a skill in this game. Let me give a guide so that people can do what they want and explain. And it has like a breakdown of like everything you need to craft items based on their difficulty or based on their legendary, ability or what they do. And so it, sometimes I use the crafting thing, and one of my players, he's a forge. In the back, in his old lore, he was a Corian, which are these 4-armed, massive dwarven type characters. Nice. Stand about 9 feet tall, 4 arms, covered in these arcane runes because they were crafted from the feather of Paragon, the eternal phoenix. And so each one of them cool. I know, right? And so each one of them has these like flame runes. They can put all 4 of their arms together and summon a mini forge in the center of it that they can like melt metals in and rebuild together. And so he did that. And I was like, you know what? I should have a crafting guide in this game. So now, he'll spend like, I don't know. It's like 1 or 2 sessions to craft something super crazy. But once he's done, like, we use the rules. It's not incredibly broken because I knew what was going to happen already, so I could plan for it. And then it was just cool. I mean, who doesn't want to be a giant dwarf that has a forge in their hands?
I mean, I know now I want to be. Dwarves are underrated, so I know.
They really are.
4 arms and be 9 feet.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the best part is since you have 4 arms, you can dual wield great weapons at level 1.
Yeah, we need another interview, another time where we can just go over all this, because this is just, there's too much. There's
a lot.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm going to get the book. I'm going to get the book, and then next time we talk, I'm just going to come to you with everything.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, the book's going to be releasing. I'm almost done with the final formatting of it. Okay. So right now, the Backers Kit's available where you can buy for the $55 with free shipping if you live in the US. And then I'll ship it to you guys once it's all done. Shouldn't be too much longer. I was honestly just kind of waiting for my artist to finish 10 new pictures that I wanted to buy because I was like, you know what? Let's get some more full art pages in there. Yeah. So. Dang. But it will be available soon, and I'm having a blast reading it all over again and telling people about the new stuff. So I can't wait to give it to people.
That's super. Can I get the original Veil Void book?
Oh yeah, you want one of the first editions?
Yeah. Just because until I can get the reforged one.
Yeah, we'll talk. Okay. And I can get you. I have so many extra copies because first edition is going out of print right now until Reforged gets here. So yeah, we can talk. I get it for you.
That would be awesome. So some like simple questions like that I just as a player think of. How do you do your levels, and is there a level cap?
So yeah, the level cap is level 20.
Okay.
Good. And then. Yeah, I like level 20. It's a nice even little thing. You gain skill points every 2 levels, so that means you gain an additional 10 skill points throughout the game, just naturally. It's a good balance. But how leveling works is a milestone based. No XP in this game. You don't have to calculate all those numbers. It's purely That's my favorite too. And there's a whole guide again in the GM section all about when to give milestone leveling. And so it talks about giving players a level when they do something great and complete a storyline, or when they utterly fail something, because they learn from that as well. And that's a lot of people forget about that a lot. You learn from mistakes a lot. So if you utterly fail, someone dies in the mist, but you guys get away and you're prepared and ready for vengeance, give them another level because they learned. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so there's a whole guide with like 6 examples of when to give people milestone leveling. And then as you level, you can take any of the non-unique abilities from your equal level from any of the classes. You gain all sorts of cool abilities as you go, just some role playing, some based in combat, because I like to have a good mixture of both. And even our combat is super roleplay heavy because it's all about movement and flow and each person working together. And there's a guide in the GM section about how to make combats even crazier by having factions in the game where the enemy learns and adapts as they fight players. So after like 3 combats with a specific faction, okay, they're starting to learn your ways. So now they're going to be more of a threat. Like you got a magic caster in the group that's just utterly wrecking their guys. They're going to bring an inquisitor that can silence your magic.
That is so cool, because that's something that a lot of games are lacking, is enemies adapting. It's either a stomp one way or the other. Either the player is too strong or the enemy is too strong. And I feel it really takes a really good dungeon master or game master to prepare these things, and not just shoehorn something in. They got some new allies, but to actually make a guide where the enemies, they're smart, they're not stupid, like they're gonna actually give you guys a challenge.
I have a whole, it's one of my favorite things I added, just the faction leveling. After 3 sessions, they're starting to understand what you are. After 6 sessions, they're going to start really coming against you. If you continue to fight the same faction up to 9 times, they're going to be something that you need to learn new tactics. Like, you gotta, the game's all about adapting and being like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this now. And we're going to be a little bit more strategic in our fight against these people because we fought them before. Or, we're going to save our caster for the next fight and make it look like he's more of a warrior so that they don't know. And then when they come back at us again, expecting pure warriors, boom, we throw a fireball.
Dang. Wow. That's amazing. And so when are you done with your Kickstarter?
So actually the Kickstarter's done. It finished last year. But the backer kit is where you can buy it right now. Which backer kit is usually when you do a Kickstarter, you do something like backer kit because it just makes it easier to keep track of everybody, and people can pre-order it from there and stuff. And so right now we're pre-ordering for the next 3 weeks. You can get it because by then it's going to be printed. And then after that, you'll be able to buy it from our shop online. But the good thing about the pre-order right now is you also get the PDF with it. So if you get the pre-order, you get the PDF for free.
That's super cool.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? People are pre-ordering. Let me just give them something else. I like people.
you like people. That's your work slogan. I like people.
Oh yeah. Our work slogan actually that we coined is "This is gonna be fun."
Okay. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
That's my motto.
Yeah. So what's next? You've created this game. It's exactly what you wanted, but you're a creator. You're.
Oh yeah.
No, even if you're not doing the art, you're still an artist of some sort. What's next? Are you going to create another game, or are you going to create like a card game? What are you thinking?
Oh boy, do I have a lot in store for you.
Okay. I should have asked this question.
Yeah, so we actually have spell cards that completed last year that go alongside the core rulebook. They're non-mandatory. You don't need the spell cards to play, but because our spells in this game have cooldowns and multiple people can use the same spells, each spell card has cooldown trackers on it, and it can track up to like 6 players, so you don't need to buy like tons of decks. You can buy one deck for everybody, and they can all track it. It's got cooldown sections. It's got where it's at, or like what kind of spell it's located. So they each have their own individual border, so you know that, hey, this is a fire spell, or this is a reflection, or this is a mystic spell. And then those same spells match the spells in the book, so that you can flip through the book and be like, oh, there's the color underneath that spell, and it matches the spell card. So, oh, this is my spell. Okay, let me quickly switch that page. And so it's a huge, it's a beautiful little addition to the game. Yeah. It took a long time developing. A year. I guess that's not a long time, but it's a lot of hours for me.
It's a lot of hours.
And I specifically designed it to make tracking spells super easy. And the fun part is you can collect them and do like one of my players does, where he has a book. It looks like an old tome, but he has card holders in there. So he flips between his cards and acts like he's casting spells.
That's so
because
cool.
I designed the spell cards to fit in standard pocket-sized cards, so that you can just put them in regular sleeves. You don't have to buy any fancy ones. They're super easy to navigate and store. And, they come with 3 arcane trackers. So each person, up to 3 magic users, can track their own arcane things so that they know, oh, I'm getting into this dangerous level. Maybe I should switch to a different realm so that I can cast without going too deep into the dangerous area. Because that's another thing about magic. Based on the magic realm that you choose, each one has their own individual realm tracking state. Okay. So if you run to be a really good wizard that's not too terrified of, summoning a giant chicken storm, you can get some spells from arcane, some spells from reflection, some from the realm of the dead. And the best part is we have no spells outside of one little tree that you can't take as any class. Any class, whether magic using or not, if you become a magic user later in the game, you can take any spells from any of the class spells. And then, of course, without the unique star next to it. But, if you want to be a Thaumatek who doesn't use any of the elemental magic, but you want to shatter realms and summon illusions, just take some from the reflection abilities.
Just like you're shopping, and then you just take it from there.
Take a little from reflection, a little from fire, a little from death.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at this! I can now summon an undead elemental. Woo!
I'm feeling a little spicy today. Let's throw a fire elemental in there.
Yeah, exactly. Or like one of my favorites. Like I have so many favorite spells in this game, and they're all unique because I took a long time to make sure each one wasn't copying the other.
Good.
One of my favorites is when you can enchant a grenade with a blizzard, and you throw that grenade, it explodes, summons a blizzard. And then after the blizzard, all of the shrapnel from the grenade forms into an elemental that's under your control for like 3 rounds.
Well, I mean, hey, next time somebody asks you, like, why should I play your game? That's what you tell them.
Right there. Icicle grenade summons an elemental.
You just enchant a grenade, throw it, big blizzard, and then it reforms into an elemental you can control for 3 rounds.
Exactly.
I'm sold. I'm sold.
Good.
No, seriously, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna be part of this because this is
awesome.
So amazing.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to show it to you. That's my favorite part, is letting people look at it and then to see their joy and then to come at me with all these character ideas. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can even make you a custom class if you want, because I've done that for several of my people in my group, my Veil of the Void Discord. All sorts of people come to me for ideas, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Let's do that.
Okay, my next time we talk, I'm gonna bring what I think could be the craziest thing, and you're gonna be like, I got you. There's already a thing for that.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, one of my friends wanted to be a Ghost Rider pretty much, and I was like, okay, cool. Let's give you a car that you can summon that leaves fire trails behind you. Let's give you there's already a whip in the game that you can summon from a dagger that turns into a blade. So let's just make it so you can enchant it with flame. And let's give you some resistance to magic. Flame. Oh, and you know what? Let's be extra spicy and make it when you take fire damage from magic, you also heal. So you're Ghost Rider.
You're Ghost Rider, but you're better and cooler, and exactly. You have a car.
Exactly.
That is so cool. Okay.
And
so what were we gonna say?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say there's a whole section for vehicles in the game, too, because vehicles are a huge part of the universe. Yeah. So there's a whole section about giving players starships and how to make starships feel like their own character that grows alongside players. And then every vehicle in the game, regardless of if it's a little toy car to a little massive, fleet-sized starship, they all use the same rule. Everything ruled. It just depends on their stats.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to try to learn a new rule for how to drive a mech. Nope. It uses the same rules as a vehicle. It has 3 virtues that you use. It uses your weapons mastery as its own, and then there you go. Now you know.
Wow. That's amazing. Dang. Well, Trevor, here's my last question of the interview before we end. And I think it's a really important question because it really shows me what type of person you are.
Oh, no.
What is your favorite color?
Favorite color? Oh, see, I can't ever choose One. Can I give you two?
And that's how I know you're a good person, because you've actually given thought to this question.
Yeah, I can never choose it. It's always black and red. Those are my two favorite colors.
They go good together too.
They do. See, like my family really loves black and white, but there's just something sleek about black and red. Yeah, I love it.
That's super cool.
Awesome. I passed the test.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. Congratulations. Well, Trevor, like I said, we should get together in the next couple weeks sometime and make a character and just kind of talk more about this game, because as a creative person myself who is a writer and loves creating worlds and things, it just sounds like it was meant to be. It sounds like we were meant to be friends, and that it's going to be fantastic. Yeah,
I'm glad you reached out to me on the Instagram. I was like, oh yeah, I'll answer his question. Yeah. Then you're like, hey, you want to do an interview? I was like, sure.
That's awesome.
I love talking about the game.
Yeah,
so
no, I love hearing about it. So yeah, thank you so much, Trevor. Any other questions or anything else you want to talk about?
The only other thing is, if you guys are interested in getting the book, you can go to www.s as in Sam, D as in dog, G as in green, creatives.com. And that has everything. A link to where you can purchase the book right now, the Reforged edition, where you can see all the cool stuff on the website. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So
awesome. And yeah, if you could just send me that link, that way I can post it in the YouTube and Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Well, Trevor, thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Thanks.